How's it going, guys? My name's Eve. Welcome back to the channel. Today I want to talk about Atari Recharged and whether or not Atari Recharged has been as successful as people say. Now, for what we know, Atari has obviously released a bunch of games in their Recharged series, including Asteroids Recharged, Yars Recharged, Missile Command Recharged, Gravitar Recharged, and obviously we have games like Caverns of Mars Recharged coming soon. So I want to go through something and just basically say if I think these games have been successful or not. Well, because obviously recently there was the Atari Game Pool released on Republic, some people are skeptical of how successful Atari's relaunch has been, and in my opinion, they've done pretty well. They've done, sure they're still losing money, but they're growing. Their revenue's growing, at least in terms of games. So that's to me that's a win. Sure, they need to keep expanding that roster, keep bringing more and more revenue until they turn profitable again. Then they can invest in other areas like setting up their own game studio in house and whatnot. But that will take time, and eventually Atari will get to the point where they have the funds to do that. Now, what I think is like leading the charge here is obviously stuff like Yars Recharged, which is, in my opinion, one of the better ones from the Recharge series. Now, besides that, we also have stuff such as Akara coming soon. We also have stuff like Caverns of Mars Recharge, which is coming soon. And from what we know, Atari is supposed to release 18 games this year on their Atari VCS home console, which means Atari has at least 18 games in development. Now, will we see all these games on the Atari VCS? Don't know, because obviously Atari is obviously working with trying to find a new manufacturing partner, and that may make things harder for them to actually release games on the VCS, because obviously whatever, but obviously they also need to look into expanding to Europe and all that sort of stuff. But personally, I feel like Atari's Recharge series is the creme de la creme. It's the sort of franchise that's keeping them afloat right now. People will argue, well, what about Roller Coaster Tycoon? Roller Coaster Tycoon is a weird franchise for Atari because technically Atari doesn't own the franchise. Everyone thinks they do, but they actually licensed it from Chris Sawyer. And in 2022, they signed a 10-year pact with Chris Sawyer to license the franchise rights. So personally, I feel like Atari needs to buy that franchise if they can afford it. But I digress. But besides that, Atari Recharge has sort of been like the big hit as for Atari this year, well, over the last year or so, because obviously they've been releasing brand new games, reviving their old IPs, and just bringing them to the modern audience and making them relevant again. And they have had games in between, like Combinera and the Atari 50 Celebration Collection. And personally, I feel like those are quite big as well, because obviously Combinera was their first new IP in 27 years, and the Atari 50 Collection had games from systems that they hadn't really re-released, like 5200 and Atari Jaguar, as well as the Atari Lynx. So that's pretty good. Now, will we see more Recharge games? Yeah, I do assume we'll see more Recharge games, especially since Atari has the game pool up on Republic, which obviously they're talking about, hey, we're looking for funding to make more games. Personally, out of the Atari franchises that we know Atari owns, the ones I would personally like to see get games include Atari Adventure. Like, I reckon Adventure would be so good as a Recharge game with updated graphics, upgraded graphics, upgraded graphics, upgraded sounds. I reckon it'd be great. There's so many franchises that they have as well, like Tempest. Imagine a new Tempest Recharge where they're like, hey, here's a brand new version of this game. Look how great it is. And also, side note, Atari, I know you made Tempest 3000 so on Samsung new ones, but like, can you not release that on like Steam and like the other systems, please? Because I kind of want to play that game and I can't because I don't want to try and find a Samsung new one. But yeah, besides that, you got Tempest. There's so many games within Atari's catalog. Atari's said they have over 200 IPs in their catalog, so now's the time to sort of like start showing them. Show us some of the stuff you got. Show us what you can make. Show us what you can do a Recharge version of. And then also, we don't have the sales figures because obviously Atari doesn't necessarily give sales figures off games. They just say, that they've made X amount of money from game sales in that quarter. But to me, I feel like this could be the start of something good. And Atari Recharge could be a huge thing for Atari going forward, as obviously they're looking at trying to update more IPs for the future, and it'd just be interesting to see what Atari comes out with. Anyway, guys, let me know your thoughts about this in the comments down below. Do you agree that Atari Recharge is like the new big franchise for Atari, and this is the one that'll be bringing in tons of money and make them relevant again in a lot of people's eyes, or do you reckon Atari Recharge is somewhat declining in sales and will lead to Atari having to find something new to make games on? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. You make sure you subscribe, like, share, comment, turn on notifications, all that stuff, and I'll see you all in the next episode. Peace.